we're going to be using the website called Photopea.com. Now we're going to put two images together. Think of it like a digital collage. We're going to have a background image, and then we're going to cut out a piece of another image and place it on it. So the first step is to open both of our images inside of this web browser-based software. So I'm going to say File, Open, and this is going to be my background image first. And you can see here's the image name, and it automatically creates basically a Photoshop file, that .psd. I'm going to also open up my other image, which is just an image of me sitting on the table that I'm going to cut out and place on these books. Alright, so the first step is to resize your image and to make sure it's the right ratio of your end product. So if you're printing this, or if you're going to use it as a drawing, you want to make sure you know those ratios. Is it going to be a 3x4, a 4x5, an 8x10, etc. So in image size, what I like to do is change the canvas size first. So I'm going to change my units to inches. And my width, since I'm using a portrait format, meaning vertical instead of laying over, I'm going to make my width 18 and my height 24, because that is the size of my drawing paper. So that is the canvas size, meaning there's an image that is basically just inside this window. So the next step is I'm going to do a free transform by selecting this transform control option, and I can pull this image to be smaller to fit inside of the window, or I can drag it out and it's essentially acting like a crop tool. Now to keep it from distorting, if you're on a computer, you can hold your shift button down. I'm going to uncheck the transform controls, and then I'm going to just check my image size. This is the actual size of the image. I had already scaled this down, so this is the resolution, 240 dpi, and then it's the actual ratio and size as well. So this is a 3x4 ratio, but it's really an 18x24 image. I'm going to come over to my other image, which is right here, and I could scale it down now, but I'm going to just wait until after I transform it. So this next step, you're going to be using what's called a layer mask to clip out around this figure and basically mask out everything in the background and what I don't want to use. So I recommend making a duplicate of your background. I just right click the background layer and hit duplicate. If you can't do this if you're using an iPad, I'm not sure exactly the touch feature, but I'm just going to hide the background layer by selecting the eyeball, but I just want to make sure I don't ruin the image. The next step, I'm going to retitle this and call this cutout. You can call it whatever you want, figure, person, whatever. And then down here at the bottom, there's a little rectangle with a circle in the middle. I'm going to say add raster mask. Now just be aware, it added this little white rectangle to the right of my thumbnail image. You want to make sure you're selecting the white rectangle. That is extremely important, or else this next step will not work. Now we're going to use the paintbrush tool, which is over here on our toolbar to the left. Select the brush, and I want this brush right here, and you can change the size in this drop down menu. You can also use the brackets on your keyboard. Those are the two keys to the right of your letter P to increase or decrease the size of your brush. Mine's really small right now, so if I keep clicking it, hold it down, see it's getting really large, and now small. Now, I'm going to be using white and black. So down here to the left you can see your swatches, and there's a little up and down arrow that basically switches back and forth. And if you use X on your keyboard, it will also switch back and forth for you, so it makes quick work of what you're doing. Now let's discuss what a layer mask is. Essentially, it's painting out a stencil or a window over your image so that everything that's masked out is basically covered. You don't see it. And then whatever is inside that stencil is what's revealed. It's not actually getting rid of it. It's not erasing it. It's just hidden. So as I paint with, let me go to black, it's going to mask out. The checkers just mean it's a transparent background. They don't actually exist. So I'm going to zoom in here and use my brush tool, make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to carefully paint around the entire figure. Take your time. The closer you get, the better the results you'll have. So I can shrink my brush and do this pixel by pixel, quite literally. and do a complete outline of your whole figure. Get really close. If you paint out, let's say I accidentally go over my shoulder, right? I'm going to hit X to switch my swatches to white, and I can paint that back in. So it's a really easy way to go back and forth and make selections. If I were to use the eraser tool, it would just be gone forever. I could do an undo command, but eventually you'd run out of steps, and if you didn't save that PST file right, that information is gone. So this is a really great way and efficient way to mask out and get rid of your background. I'm about halfway through. It's a good idea to save your work, and you want to make sure you save it as a PSD, because if for some reason you lose connection or your browser crashes or you just accidentally do something, you have a document that basically gets you, well, for this case, halfway there instead of starting from scratch. And the more unreliable your internet connection is or your device, you might want to save more frequently than what I just did. Alright, now that we have the entire image outlined, I'm going to save it one more time real quick. I don't want to mess it up now. And instead of coming over the entire image and trying to mask out the rest with a paintbrush, you can save some time by just going and grabbing the, let me find it, it's under gradient, the paint bucket tool. Essentially what the paint bucket tool is it drops a color onto whatever shape you select. We now have two shapes. So basically I have the figure and then everything else. So if I drop black onto everything else, I'm still on the mask over here, so it basically just drops more black onto the rest of it. And now I have my entire figure cut out where I can select it and just move it around. So now that that is done, all I need to do is drag this figure onto my other tab. You can also copy and paste by selecting it and saying edit, copy, paste. And I can drop him right where I want it placed. Now, if it is slightly too big or too small, it might come in really, really large. If you had a really large image for the cutout versus the background image, you can just hit the transform controls, hold shift when you do this, drag the corners and resize it to make it look more accurate. One thing to look out for if you're taking your original images, actually two things. First is perspective. I can see a little bit of the top of this book. So when I'm trying to take the picture of this figure, which is me, I want to see a little bit of the top of my legs to make sure where the two objects meet, the figure and the book, they actually look correct. The other thing is, I don't want to get too close as I'm taking the picture, or else I'd get some lens distortion, because it would almost have a wide angle lens effect on the figure when that's obviously not happening to the objects in my still life. The other thing, the main thing, is the light source. So the light in this black and white image is coming from the left, at least the main light source. Hitting these, you can see the reflections and also the cast shadows. So in my figure, I also had a main light source. Now the difference is, there's also window light hitting the other side of my face, which, you know, it doesn't quite look accurate. I don't think it's a big enough deal to make or break this right now, but essentially I would want to retake this picture where there isn't a secondary light source illuminating this side of the face, or I'd want to add that secondary light source into my still life image. So I'm just taking my time to resize this thing. It's a little laggy because of my internet connection, and hit enter when you're done. Now I'm going to, if you're on a computer. If you're doing this on your iPad, just hit the check mark up at the top, and then I can undo my transform controls, and now my image fully renders inside this other one. So now I have two layers, my background image and my cutout. If it's still too long, where I think my legs are dangling a little bit too far, I can come in here and transform that a little bit smaller. Now that I have my cutout inside my backgrounds, I am going to duplicate my background layer. Now if you can't do this by right-clicking, you can also add a new layer by selecting down here. This is new layer. It would just be blank instead of a background copy. What I'm going to do next is, obviously I need to make him black and white too, but it looks like he's kind of floating in air because there's no shadow. With a strong light source, there'd obviously be a cast shadow on the book, and definitely between the legs and on this side of the leg, maybe a little bit, and below the feet. So I'm going to first select cutout, and I'm going to make him black and white. So I'm going to go to adjustments, and I'm going to go to hue and saturation, and I'm just going to drop the saturation, which is making that layer selection black and white. And I could continue to adjust that layer with some of these other adjustments if I needed to correct it to make it a little bit more accurate to the image, or if I was to leave this color, I could adjust the color correction or the white balance with some of these other options. The background image is a little bit noisier. You see all that grain? Kind of looks like film grain. We call that noise in photography. So I could add some fake noise to him. That would be a little easier than trying to clear up that image. So next step, I'm going to select my background copy. If you have a layer copy, you're going to use a paintbrush. I'm instead going to use the burn tool. What the burn tool does is it essentially darkens the pixels that are selected. So it is still a brush. You can see the little brush. I can make it larger. But if I select the image, you can see it's darkening down the pixels of that book. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo. You can change the exposure right here, so it's less intense or more intense depending on if you go left or right. I'm going to first paint in under the legs, basically a soft shadow. I also want to make sure my brush is a soft brush, so I'm going to hit this one so it has lower hardness. Raise the size again. And continue to paint that shadow. The brush I changed the hardness to is soft edged, so it wouldn't give me this crisp outline of a shadow. You would have some of that in some instances, but at first I want to just add in a nice soft dark area. And if you had a new layer instead of the background copy, you could do this with the brush tool too, and just grab black paint, but change the opacity and the flow. So essentially just painting black paint, and it should give you the same effect. Now one other thing is I don't have to worry about painting over him because he's a different layer, it's just underneath him. So you see it's going there where the paintbrush is, it's actually underneath the leg in terms of layers. I think I'm just about done. When painting these, if you made a mistake, I did make this a background copy, so I still have the original underneath. I could basically make another copy and make some adjustments. If you had a different layer that you created and you were just painting on it with a black brush, like so, to get your shadows, one nice thing about doing it this way is that essentially you're just painting in space, so you can grab your eraser tool and erase through those shadows that you paint on to make any corrections. So those are two different ways that you can apply the shadow, either by using a new layer with a paintbrush or making a background copy and burning those pixels. The last thing you need to do is save this. So before I export this as a JPEG, I also want to create just one more PSD copy, so that way I can come in here and make corrections if I need to. As you can see, it's automatically by default saving to my downloads. And last step, export as JPEG. I want a really good quality, I want JPEG format, and this is where I'm just going to keep the ratio the same since I've already adjusted the size of my image. Hit save. And now I have an image ready for reference.